The second is that it would diminish, meaning the evil would diminish without ending completely. Without ending completely. The third is that it would be replaced by an evil equivalent to it. That it will, or it would be replaced by an evil equivalent to it. The fourth is that it would be replaced by an evil worse than it. Worse than it. The first two levels, look at the screen and see. The first two levels, the evil will end and be replaced by the opposite, which is good, and the evil will diminish without ending completely, conform with the Sharia, with the Islamic law. No problem. The third, meaning it would be replaced by an evil equivalent to it, is able to ijtihad, or is liable to ijtihad, meaning to scholarly judgment. Should one do it? Should one not do it? This is liable to ijtihad, to scholarly judgment. And the fourth, what is the fourth? It would be replaced by an evil worse than it. This is prohibited. So, forbidding evil has these four levels. So when you see evil and sinful people playing chess, for example, to rebuke them would be a case of poor understanding and insight, because this could cause them to do things that are more evil, unless you can cause them to turn to pastimes beloved by Allah and His Messenger, like archery and horseback riding. And when you see sinful people gathering for futile speech and wasteful pastimes, or to listen to clapping and whistling, if you can move them from that to doing acts of obedience of Allah, then do so. Otherwise, it would be better to leave them alone than to make them turn to what involves a greater harm. This is also similar to the case of a man who is preoccupied with shameless books and the likes, and you suspect that your coaxing him from that may cause him to turn to books of innovation, deviations and magic. In such case, just leaving him to his shameless books. And this subject is quite expansive. He said, I heard Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His mercy be upon him, say, during the time of the Tartar invasion of the greater Syria area, I, meaning Ibn Taymiyyah, and one of my companions passed by some Tartars who were drinking khamr, alcoholic liquor. My companion began to rebuke them. So I in turn rebuked him, saying, indeed Allah forbade al-khamr, the alcoholic liquor, because it diverts from the remembrance of Allah and the salah, the prayers. But as for these people, khamr, alcoholic liquor, is diverting them from murdering, enslaving children, and stealing. So leave them. This is indeed a delicate understanding from these two imams. May Allah have mercy upon them. It points clearly to the great significance of the da'wah to Allah, the essentiality of conducting it in accordance with the rules of the Sharia, and that this is the only ideal means to change evil at a time when the Ummah nation is weak and its power is frail. Think about this. Guidelines. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, explained some of the guidelines for enjoining good and forbidding evil as follows. When confronting the people of sin, one should not exceed the limits of Sharia in hating, censoring, forbidding, abandoning, or punishing them. Rather, anyone who transgresses toward them should be told, worry about your own self. No harm will come to you from those who are misled if you are truly guided. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, what means, and do not let your hatred of others cause you to swerve to wrong and depart from justice. Be just, that is closer to taqwa, to piety. And the saying of Allah, what means, fight in the cause of Allah those who fight you, and don't transgress. Indeed, he said, many of those who command and forbid transgress Allah's limits through ignorance or injustice. This issue must be firmly maintained, whether it is in regards to censoring the disbelievers, the hypocrites, the sinful, or the disobedient. Allahu Akbar. Look at how great this religion is. Look at its fairness and justice, even with its offenders among the sinners and the disobedient. Wouldn't those who are young in years and immature in reason understand this guideline of justice and apply it truly in order to be true believers? Or are they simply ignorant people who think that they have knowledge, people who do harm but think that they are doing good? Then Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah goes on to present another guideline. So the first guideline, don't exceed the limits. Second guideline, he said, the one who is commanding and forbidding, should do so according to the Sharia. This is the second guideline. First guideline, no excessiveness, no transgression. The second guideline is that it must be in accordance with the Sharia. What does this mean? With knowledge, gentleness, and patience, with the proper intention, and following a moderate approach. With knowledge, gentleness, and patience, with the proper intention, and following a moderate approach. All of this follows from Allah's saying, which means, believers, beware for your own selves. Those who stray can do you no harm if you are guided. And there is in this ayah another meaning as well, that a person must turn to what benefits him in both knowledge and practice, and must avoid what does not concern him. As the Prophet ﷺ said, a sign of a person's goodness in Islam is that he avoids what does not concern him. A sign of a person's goodness in Islam is that he avoids what does not concern him. This applies especially to a person delving in matters not concerning him of people's religious or life affairs. Thus, he would speak out of envy or desire for position, or act either with transgression and injustice or with imprudence and negligence. How often would Satan picture such acts of injustice and transgression as acts of commanding good and forbidding evil, and doing jihad, striving in Allah's cause. Yes, shaitan